Welcome to IELTS time. Make sure to subscribe and press the bell icon for more practice tests. IELTS cue card practice by IELTS time. Describe a time when you needed to use your imagination. When it was. When you needed to use imagination. How difficult or easy it was. And explain how you felt about it.
There are a lot of situations when ingenuity has helped me tackle difficult situations. Here I would like to talk about an incident that happened a few months ago, when I had gone to Jammu for an examination. But, because of the fog, my train back home got cancelled. So, I decided to travel back by bus. The bus dropped me at my city's bus station at about 2 a.m. I had told my parents that I would be coming by bus, but because I had left my flashlight on my phone battery had died. So, I couldn't call my parents to pick me up when I reached the bus station. And because of fog, my parents also couldn't estimate when the bus would reach my home city. So, I was forced to walk back alone at night. At this time, I saw some strangers walking toward me. I felt that their intentions were not right, and I was really worried. At that moment, I used my imagination and took out the phone, and started talking loudly on the phone. I knew that my phone was dead, but they didn't know that the phone was dead. As they came closer, I started saying that I am just around the corner. As they heard this, they moved back, and I used this opportunity to run a nearby 24/7 store. Once inside, I borrowed the phone from the sales clerk and called my parents to pick me up. The whole time my heart was beating very loudly. It was a very scary situation. On seeing my father and mother, I finally took a huge sigh of relief. My father told me that he was proud of my presence of mind, and a lot of people told me that they wouldn't have been able to think on their feet as I did. To deduce my experience, I would like to say that whenever a person is in a difficult situation, one must try to be fearless in by any stretch of the imagination.
Follow-ups. 1. Do you think adults can have lots of imagination? I don't think imagination depends upon age. Both children and adults can imagine things. The only thing is that children are not restricted by real-world knowledge in their imagination. So, children can sometimes imagine completely impossible things. 2. Do you think imagination is necessary for scientists? I think all scientific discoveries are about looking at something from a new or different perspective. So, imagination is certainly important for scientists. Many would have seen an apple fall from a tree before Newton, but he was the first one to relate it to a force. 3. What kind of jobs need imagination? I think the biggest field which needs imagination is science. Then, another field in which I think is being a fantasy author. A fantasy author puts down his imagination on a piece of paper. I think some of the famous fantasy authors like Tolkien or J.K. Rowling are some people with endless imagination. 4. What subjects are helpful for people's imagination? I think literature can be very helpful to develop imagination. I remember reading Alice in Wonderland was so exciting. It was my first time reading a fantasy novel and I just couldn't put it down. After reading each chapter, I used to think about what would happen next, and that in turn was nothing but exercising my imagination.